This is the Sports Source, presented by Junk Be Gone and Renewal by Anderson. Now, your host, John Pennington.
Good Easter Sunday morning, everyone. We're happy to have you with us today. We have a lot to cover. I don't know if you heard about it, but Rick Barnes had a press conference this week. Plenty to discuss coming out of that. Jonathan Kongbo came out and talked a little bit about the differences between the Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt regimes, and plenty more to discuss in this episode. Let's just get underway. First segment of our program brought to you by our good friends at Junk Be Gone. It is spring cleaning time, and Junk Be Gone's teams are ready to help, even if that means demolition. I mean, they'll take down that rickety shed you've got in the backyard that you want to knock over, the swing set that's been up since your kids were tiny and now they're 35. Yeah, they can come and take that apart and haul that off. They'll haul off an old boat if you got it back there. Anything. They once hauled out a casket that someone had in their basement. They do just about everything. Junk Be Gone, good family-owned business right here in East Tennessee. Give these guys a call. I use them every single year. Junk Be Gone. All right, want to welcome in today's panel. We have right here Bob Hodge. Right there is Ryan Callahan, Mike Strange, and Chuck Cavaleris down there on the other end. All right. Earlier this week, as I mentioned, Rick Barnes had a press conference. In it, he was asked what would have happened if let's cut to the chase. In it, he was asked what would have happened if UCLA had paid the buyout, because that, became the big issue. His quote was, "I think I would have been the coach at UCLA." That caught a lot of folks off guard. It upset a few folks. Didn't like hearing that. I think those of us in the media were kind of shocked by the honesty of it. Now, he also said he prayed about the situation and that he realized it wasn't supposed to be. And I thought, well, funny how that works when they don't pay you. But lots of times when guys look at these types of situations, it does wind up you take the money or not. Rarely does somebody think about this and then say, I'm going to take lesser money. And with the tax differences and everything in California, he's getting more money here at Knoxville in terms of what they did for him to keep him. My question is, he was honest, but people are upset. Do they have a right to be upset with the fact that this coach said, if they paid the buyout, I'd have been at UCLA?
I think fans have a tendency to think that when somebody comes to their school, they're like them. If I take a better job in Tulsa, I'm still a UT fan. I'm still watching UT on television and trying to get home for a game. They don't understand that these guys, that's their job. And, should you be a little upset? Okay, I can understand a little teensy bit of upset. He didn't want to be here. He would have rather gone somewhere for more money. Okay, fine, I understand that. But in the long run, it's these men's professions and their job, and most of us go where the money's at. The way it is. I loved working at the News Sentinel, loved it, but I went where the money was.
Yeah, no, I don't think fans should be mad, because at the end of the day, it's a bottom line business, and the fact of the matter is Rick Barnes is still Tennessee's basketball coach. I think a lot of fans out there understand that's what's important here. Tennessee did manage to hold on to him. There are going to be some fans who don't forget this, and maybe this comes up again down the road if Rick Barnes doesn't meet these higher expectations now with all this money he's getting. But at the end of the day, I think fans should understand he stayed. That's what really matters. But most fans wanted him to be leading Tennessee's program. He's done a good job, and he ended up staying one way or another, and that's what matters.
Mike, Chuck, you've covered a lot of these things. Your thoughts on whether or not there's
as a media guy, you love a coach being honest about situations. I always found that coaches, no matter the sport, who are honest with me about everything else when it came to jobs and job searches and being a candidate, then they weren't honest about it all of a sudden. But he was really honest about this, and as a media guy, I appreciate it, but I don't think he did himself any favors talking about being that candid about the negotiations with UCLA.
If you were an advisor, you would have said maybe.
I would have said not, but I'll say this. Tennessee fans, turn your energy into feeling good about the fact that your university stepped up and got it done with Philip Fulmer and interim president Randy Boyd.
Yeah, the end result worked out fine for Tennessee fans, the way you would look at it that way. But do they have a right to be mad? Well, they're fans. And I think we've said before, I think about 25% of the fan base still wants Bruce Pearl back. Or, it's a pretty good number, and they're thinking, okay, if Rick Barnes takes this job,
I had
who knows?
I had people say that to
Exactly.
me. When this thing was up in the air, do you think he's going to go? I said, well, I don't know. I would, if you'd asked me last night, Sunday night, I would have said no. Now I'm starting to wonder, it's taking forever. And the immediate follow-up was, you think we can get Pearl back?
Yeah. And there were a lot of the fans, too, John, that did not believe there was anything to this.
Right.
Rick would never leave us for UCLA. They're terrible. They don't remember the UCLA in the glory years, right?
Yeah.
So, and the other thing I was thinking, too, boy, is this the first time a buyout worked in UT's favor?
Well, but here, the interesting thing is coaches flirt with schools to get what they want from their current school.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Schools put buyouts in the contract so other schools can't come and take their coach. Nothing in this was outside the norm. So
Right.
as far as that's concerned, it's just how the job is done. That's how that business works. The thing that was odd was him saying more than he needed to. Now, there are a lot of folks who complain that Butch Jones was never forthcoming and he had the slogans and stuff. Here's a guy now that comes out and says you exactly what he's thinking and what he was thinking. And the same people that didn't like Butch's slogans and dancing around the truth now don't like him for telling the truth. I think Chuck's on this. I think those people that he'd lost already.
Exactly.
I think it was Pearl. Do you guys think that Mike, we were talking before the show. You said this might be a turning point.
It could be. I'm usually the glass half full guy, but looking back, this could be a turning point that he lost people because, as we're going to get into later in the show, you pay a guy so much more, expectations go up, and people could look back at this very.
And piggybacking on that, expectations might go up at about the same time.
We'll get into expectations later.
But and this was
that was that whole meeting we did before the show of when we talked about these things. That's on this. Yeah.
That's when I was humming.
Yeah.
there were a lot of places that for UT
droning
fans. There's a lot of places that maybe Rick Barnes could go, but I would look and say, boy, UCLA, this was day 99 of their job search.
Yeah.
But looking at it from the fan perspective, sure, they have a right to be mad because they felt like their coach almost left them.
Well, here's the other thing. If you could spin that a little bit before Mike distracted me with that expectations thing, I was going to say, could it have been Barnes? I was going to be at UCLA just simply because it moved so fast. And like Chuck said, it was so many days into their coaching search. Maybe they were expecting an answer. Here's your deal. We want an answer. And if the buyout had been different, he takes it. Whereas with Tennessee, it took a little bit more time to get to exactly where you're getting to.
As for whether he lost some fans, I think the people that he lost, if he lost anybody, are the same people who already are sort of not really happy about the way this season ended, already calling him regular season Rick, things like that. I think it's the people who are already kind of detractors are the ones that he actually lost. I think at the end of the day it comes down to, do these people turn on him quicker now if this team doesn't produce? If this team goes back to not being an NCAA tournament team, do these people now turn on him a little more quickly in that situation?
And we'll get to that a little bit later. The interesting thing, though, is most coaches, and I think he would have been better off saying what most coaches do, and that is, well, I looked at it. It's a good program at UCLA. We talked to them. Really appreciate them having interest in me. But, it didn't work out. Love it here. I wanted to stay here.
Right.
Leave it at that. That's all you need to say. Now, again, hard to sit here in the media and say, how dare you be honest. But we'll get into that. I will say this, though. UT had it on social media yesterday. There were so many restaurants that said, hey, we'll give you free food if you do it. So they went out on a thank you tour and had Rick Barnes, and they had the cameras going, showing him going in saying thanks to all these different restaurants that offered the free food. Brilliant. I thought that was a good piece of PR move when it's needed right now, because you do have some people with some hurt feelings for the moment. But
they'll get over it, And it was TMI. It was too much information.
Might not get over it next season, but maybe.
Okay.
It's good off-season anger.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's talk about it. Was it just pure honesty? Is that why he said that, or could there have been something else, some other reason why he said it? Also, that's next, and we'll also talk about the fact he came out and said it's crazy to say he didn't get great support from Philip Fulmer. We'll discuss that as well. Come on back.